I was thinking about running Berserkers after I level up my white mages to try them out. But I want to level up my white mages so that Krill and Ferris have all the white magic when they switch over to Bear. Dude, Rocket Punch is like the most annoying attack. Yo, Rakdos, thank you so much for the brand new sub. Do some foam in the chat. Welcome to the crew. Thank you so much for the brand new sub. Means a lot, man. Rakdos sounds like a Monster Hunter enemy, but I don't think it is. I don't think it is. There's Rathalos. I don't think Rakdos is one, but it sounds like it. Oh, it's an MTG deck? Why don't I recognize it then? Am I washed up? Washed up MTG player? That makes sense as to why it's Rakdos Burn then. Why his name's Rakdos Burn. Now it all makes sense. Let's do Kitsa. I will admit, I drafted a box with my cousin a couple weeks ago, the new set, and I don't know what's going on anymore. Like, I looked at half the cards and I was like, how is this legal? They have double snowlands now? What is that? Someone explain that to me. How is that a thing? When I played MTG, there was basic lands, right? And then there were dual lands. So, like, for those of you that aren't into Magic, there's red, black, green, white, blue. Those are the colors. And you get a land for each one. So if you're using a red card, you need to have red mana to cast the red card, right? So there's a land type for each color. Red land, blue land, black land, white land, green land, right? And then there were some lands called dual lands where you could do like blue or red, right? Drag it! Thank you for the 43 months! Good to see you, man. Welcome back. So glad to have you here. You got your master's degree? Or you're getting your master's degree. Holy cow. That's amazing, dude. Good to hear it. Glad to have you back. It's awesome to see you. So, they had dual lands, right? But there was always a punishment for it. So you'd have like a land that could do red and black, but then you had to like take damage to use it, or it came in tapped and you couldn't use it till the next turn. That was the idea, right? So you had regular lands, and then you had dual lands, but they had some kind of requirement, right? Then, a long time later, like a couple years later, they released a set with just straight dual lands. Like, no requirement, no punishment, they were just dual lands. And they were like a bajillion dollars to buy. They were like $200 to buy online. They were super rare, and they got banned like immediately because people were like, "Why do we make these?" Like the whole point was there to be a punishment. So they're like, "Okay, let's just ban these, right?" Then a couple years later, I'm here drafting a box with my cousin, and I just pick up a dual snowland, which is a dual land that also counts as a snowland. No requirement, no punishment. It's just like, here you go, there it is. Not even rare. We got like 6 of them in the box. Like, like, what is this? What is this game that I used to play? I don't understand what's going on here anymore. Do they come in tapped? Because the ones we picked up, I don't think they said they did. Maybe it's like a hidden rule or something. And then there were fetch lands where you could fetch a land from your deck, but they came in tapped. And those were broken. Like, those were so good. Fetch lands were like, holy cow, just the greatest. You could lower your deck count because you fetched a land, so it counted as like 2 cards. And you could get any color you wanted. They just had to come in tapped. Can we just go back to the days? Can we go back to the old days where Noble Templar was the best card in the game? We were talking about this the other day. Noble Templar used to be the greatest card in our collection. And it was like game over when someone played Noble Templar, and now it's like the worst card in the game. If you play Yu-Gi-Oh, it's kind of like the equivalent of like Dark Magician, if there wasn't any like Dark Magician support like there is today. Like just the card Dark Magician, where like you play that, game's over, and now it's like this is the worst card in the game. Why would you ever play this? It's the same way. It's the same way with Noble Templar. We got that in a pack, and we were like, this is the pinnacle, dude. Nothing's ever gonna beat this card. And now it's a complete joke.
Power surge.
Yo, Knock, thank you for the raid. How's it going, Iron? Yo, Knock! The tier 2 29! Welcome back, dude. Yeah, I don't know if power creep is the right term. More like power ambush. They're not creeping, you know? It's an ambush. I wanted to see if you had like a weakness, but I don't think anything's going to do as much damage as Holy. Weak versus water. Alright, well I could try that. Weak. Power surge. Magic the Gathering has Power Sloth, but then every once in a while they release a set where you're just like, what are you guys doing? Like when they released the Miracle set, everyone was like, what are you doing? What? Who did this? Who did this and why? I don't know what the goal level is. I'm just grinding for a bit until I feel like we've grinded for a while, and then I'm going to see where we're at, because we are not, I mean, it's taken a while. I still will never forget when they released the Miracle set, and everyone was just like, why, like, this is nonsense. It was the equivalent of, like, it was the equivalent of a game company, like Nintendo releasing the Mario 64 remaster or something. Like, everyone has to go buy it right now, or else you just suck. Like, you can't play unless you just go out and buy this set. Because everyone else is buying this set, and you're just gonna lose. Yeah, the first Eldrazi set was also amazing. But, see, I don't know, somehow the Eldrazi set wasn't as annoying. Because the Eldrazi set was like, that was the whole gimmick, was that they were just big beef monsters and they were colorless. It was a cool gimmick. It was like, you get to make this deck with no color, and you get these big beefy monsters, and if you get them out, you win, but if you don't get them out, you lose, and like, there was a gimmick that made sense. Miracles were just, you can put them in any deck, and that deck is better. So, you just have to go out and buy this set, or else you can't play the game anymore. And that's the worst kind of power creep. That happens in Yu-Gi-Oh! All the time, where like, they release a card, and it's like, well, your deck just sucks now if it doesn't have this card. Like, no matter what your deck is, your deck sucks unless it has this card. And that's the worst kind of power creep, because then everyone just has to go buy it, and it's more of an annoyance. And because everyone has it, it's not like you even have an advantage. You don't feel like you have an advantage for having it, you feel like you have a disadvantage for not having it. You know what I mean? That's the worst kind of, that's the worst way to do a trading card game. If you feel like you have a disadvantage from not having a card, that's where they screwed up. Then yeah, that's exactly the way Miracles were. For those of you that aren't into Magic, to give you like a super general sense of Miracles, basically the way they worked is, if you had them in your starting hand, you could play them for free, and they did super bonkers effects. And so you would think like, oh, it's kind of a waste because you have to have it in your starting hand, but that's the thing. If you have it in your starting hand, you freaking win the game. So, there was kind of just no reason not to have them in the deck. And they were still usable cards if you drew into them. They weren't dead cards. That's not how Miracles worked? Am I misremembering? Well, you play them at a reduced... Wait. Okay, no, you're right. You have to draw into them. It was the opposite of what I'm thinking. If you had them in your starting hand, they were dead cards. They weren't really dead, but they were close to dead. If you drew into them, then they were nearly free. I was saying it reversed. Wasn't there another set where they had to be in your starting hand? Yeah. What were those called? What were the cards that if you had in your hand? In your starting hand. They had a name. Ley lines, yeah. So ley lines were you want them in the starting hand. Miracles were you want to draw into them. And both were good, yeah. But Miracles were a bit too strong because the abilities on them were nuts. I went to a draft of that set, and I drew Temporal Mastery. That card was like $50 that day. So I sold it to my brother and made back all my money for the draft. But that card, if I remember correctly, was, if you draw into it, it was 1 or 2 mana, take an extra turn. Which I don't have to tell you how good that is in a game that you usually win in 6 to 7 turns. Yeah, it was essentially one of the Power 9. Which the Power 9 are those legendary Magic cards that are like very expensive and completely banned to oblivion. But this card was a Power 9 if you drew into it. Like, just... like, what were they thinking when they made this? Well, they're banned in Legacy, are they not? In Vintage, they're restricted, but who the heck plays Vintage? Even I don't play Vintage, and I'm an old fart. I play Legacy, and that's it. Even I don't play Vintage. Vintage is basically slap everyone with your wallet, the game. That's Vintage. If you want to play Vintage, just slap people with your wallet. You ever go to a card shop and play with someone with a deck that doesn't have all the cards for it? I forget the name. There's a name for it, but proxies, yeah. So, have you ever played someone with a proxy deck? I did that once and I'll never do it again. I went to a card shop and I was trying to we were trying to become like friends with people at this card shop because we wanted to go there more often. We were trying to get more into like the community around Magic because we had only really played each other, me and my buddy. We wanted to try to like get involved in a card shop, right? So we went to this card shop and we just like sat around and just played people, right? I played this one guy and I was like, do you want to play Legacy? And he was like, well, I only have one Legacy deck and it's a proxy deck, is that okay? And I was like, sure, no problem, like I'm just trying to play with people, I don't care if I win or not. Never, 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 I'm telling you never play someone with a proxy deck, ever. It's a mistake. It's an absolute mistake. Because you don't play the game, you watch them play the game. And you just sit there and you're like, are you done yet? Oh, okay. Yeah, don't. Just never. I don't even remember what the deck was. I don't know if I could tell you what the deck was. Because it was all proxies. But all I know is he was like, I won the game. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I gotta go. Like, my mom's calling me. Yeah, it's Solitaire Simulator, basically. And that's not to say that my Legacy deck wasn't also pretty solitaire, but Lord, I'm not even sure he watched me play. Like, I'm not even sure. He was just like, my turn? Okay. By the way, I won. Which, like I said, I have decks like that, but at least they're not proxied, so you can see what's going on. I just saw him flip over a bunch of white cards with marker on them, and then I lost it. It's complete nonsense. Like, alright, well that was fun. Like, at least when they're playing a Legacy deck that isn't a proxy deck, you can watch them win, and it's kind of cool to see how they win. I didn't even get to watch. No! Who's a zombie? Oh, Bart's? Okay, that's fine. Oh, I have some great Legacy decks. And I've said it before, I want to show off my Legacy decks sometime and just show you guys, because most of them are like gimmick decks and they're really cool. But, most of them at least are fair. They're more fun than, like, try-hard Legacy decks. My only, like, try-hard Legacy deck was my Infinite Draw Artifact deck. I took that deck seriously because I wanted to, like, play tournaments with it, but then I never did. That deck had a turn 2 win that was absolutely nonsense. Just the funniest turn 2 win with like turn 1 protection. It's really silly. I loved that deck. Like I said, that was the one deck that I like try-harded to try to make it good. I was really happy with it. Yeah, Platinum Angel, I believe it's Platinum Angel. Can't lose. You can't lose the game and your opponent can't win the game if it's out. And there were some, like, gimmicky decks where you get a Platinum Angel out and then make her invincible. And then you just win automatically. Probably my favorite Magic deck of all time minus maybe my Black Cat deck, because that's my favorite deck to play. But my favorite deck I ever saw someone else play, my buddy had a deck that was oh, what was that card called? Flash... It's on the tip of my tongue. It's like Brain Meld or something like that. Flash... It's got Flash or Brain Freeze, maybe? But anyway... Basically, it took 2, maybe 3 turns, and all they did was, all you did was draw cards. And then once you were ready to pull off the combo, you just drew your entire deck and then played Brain Freeze and won. And it was an absolutely hilarious deck. Like, you played no cards. You just drew a card, maybe played a card to draw some more cards for the first 2 or 3 turns, and then just won the game. It was such a hilarious deck. It was absolutely Solitaire Simulator. And it was hilarious playing against him because you would get like 2 or 3 turns to do your own thing, and then he would just be like, I won, do you want me to do it or not? Like, yeah, exactly. Like, I hope you... all the time I'd play that deck and he'd be like, I hope you can win this turn. I'm like, oh no. But, that deck actually inspired me to make another deck of my own that was like complete gimmick. And one day I'll show it off, because it's one of my proudest creations. It's a... Basically, what happened was, I played against that deck for like the 1000th time, and he beat me. And I was like, I want to make a deck like your deck, but you play no cards. Like, you literally do nothing but draw a card for the first 2 or 3 turns, and then win. And I don't want it to be a gimmick win, I want it to be an actual deal damage win. And he said, that's impossible, there's no way you can make that work. And then I was like, that sounds like a challenge. So then I made it work. And so I made a burn deck where you don't play any cards until you win. And the whole point of burn decks usually is like you keep doing damage each turn. So like every turn you just hit them for a couple damage, and then you like blow them up on the 3rd or 4th turn. But I made a burn deck where you play nothing. You just draw a card, your turn. Draw a card, your turn. I only had 1 card in the deck that you would maybe play. And other than that, you just waited. And then you did 20 plus damage in 1 turn. And it's a really funny gimmick deck. And it's hilarious to play against people that don't know what it is. Because they're sitting there waiting for you to do something, and you just go, your turn. Your turn. Your turn. And they're like, what is he doing? Is he drawing dead? Like, what? How is this happening? And then I just go, I win. Yeah. How is that fun? Oh, because the combo is super fun. It takes advantage of this card that you play. So basically, I chain into a bunch of cards that give me more and more mana, and then I spend all the mana on this X card that makes you draw a bunch of cards and you can play them all for free. And then the cards that I play for free include cards that can double up other cards, and I double up a card that says deal 10 damage. So I double the 10 damage and do 20 damage, or sometimes triple it for 30 if they've gained life. So the combo is really fun, but the first 3 turns are your turn. While you're sitting there doing math in your head. But my favorite deck I've ever made is my Black Cat deck. I made it in Spirit of Seymour. It's his magic deck. And it is the funnest deck I've ever played. Every game is so much fun to play. Because every game is different. The idea behind it is super simple. It's like a super simple, something you'd make on like Magic Arena or something, like when you're first starting out, just a very basic gimmick where you sacrifice cards to get advantage, but then the cards you sacrifice also give you advantage. So for example, you might have a card that says, when it dies, draw a card. And then you play a card that says, sacrifice something, draw a card. So then you get to draw 2 cards. It's like super basic, simple stuff that you do in any card game. But it was so optimized, and I used pretty much every card that you could possibly, because it was Legacy, so I used like every possible card I could find that was perfect for the deck. And it was super optimized. I played it a ton and really like optimized it. And it became like this super hand nuke deck where I could nuke 5 or 6 cards in your hand on turn 2. So you just could not play the game. Or, if I didn't draw into that, I would instead do a bunch. I had a bunch of different options. That's what made it so much fun. There's so many different options. I could either nuke your hand, I could nuke the field, I could set up a field that was hard to get through. Like, there was a bunch of different options. It didn't just have one goal. So, oh man, it was such a fun deck to play. The anniversary, maybe we bring out the Magic cards for the anniversary event. But yeah, man. And then, of course, like, the theming of the deck was just so good. Like, it had Black Cat in there. It had, like, a bunch of, like, zombies and skeletons. It was, like, it was really cool. And I put it in I had, like, really cool sleeves for it that were, like, undead sleeves. So it had this great, like, gimmick theme. It was perfect. I loved it. It was very fitting. Sorry, Blaine. Welcome back. Yeah. Start using Leviathan. A lot of these guys are weak against water. And he's a lot less MP. So, there was something I wanted to talk about today. Game related. So we talk about microtransactions a lot. Yeah, we're just doing a little grinding. I'm trying to see, like, this will probably be the last time. Let me see. Maybe I think I'll level up everyone one more time. So like 45, then see what we can do. How's it going, C-Mark? So we talk a lot about microtransactions and stuff. And it's always kind of a mixed opinion thing. Some people don't mind microtransactions at all. Like, some people have the opinion that microtransactions are there for people that want to buy them, but you can just not buy them. You know what I mean? And like that, just don't buy them. If people want to buy them, they can. If you don't buy them, and they don't really see like the issue. And I usually try to tell them, like, the issue is more of, like, where gaming is going. Not necessarily that a certain game has microtransactions, but just it's taking the whole industry down this road where they only care about optimizing the money of games rather than actually making good games. And microtransactions are kind of the first step towards that. And I wanted to follow that up because I've never really had, like, a super good example of that. I've just always said, like, that's where the industry is heading. Games as a service and stuff, like, that's where it's all heading. But the other day I heard a really good example of exactly that problem, and I wanted to bring it up. Did you just cure the Iron Giant? What are you doing? I hope that didn't fully heal him, because I think a single cast Cure 3 fully heals. She might have just fully healed him. So anyways, yeah, I was reading the news about Activision the other day, and a perfect example of this happened. So, the other day, Activision held its investor meeting for the next Call of Duty, which, by the way, according to them, is going to be called Call of Duty World War II Vanguard. That's the name of the new Call of Duty game. So... I don't know how I feel about that. Kind of a stupid name. Yeah, they're doing World War II again. And people are saying they might do like an alternate reality Final Fantasy or World War II. But then they said, no, we're not doing that. It's just going to be World War II again. But we didn't want to call it World War II 2. So we're calling it World War II Vanguard, which is interesting. But anyways, so they had this investor meeting. No, don't. Okay, if he rocket punches Reyna, I lose. So don't. Oh my god, I failed twice. I can't believe it. I'm so lucky. So in the investor meeting, they said, hold on, let me not lose this. I can't believe the third one actually hit. In the investor meeting, they were talking about how they have all of their studios working on Call of Duty right now. Like, pretty much every single studio Activision owns is working on Warzone particularly, because that's their big moneymaker. Which I could get into a whole conversation about how that's annoying, because zombies, multiplayer, campaign, all the stuff that I'm interested in, mostly zombies, in the Call of Duty world, is getting gutted because Warzone. But here's where I'm going with this. So, all of Activision's studios that they own are working on Warzone. The reason they're putting all of their studios on Warzone is because it's their big moneymaker. It has the microtransactions, it has the kind of pay-to-win-ish type stuff with the new guns, unfortunately. People are annoyed about that. And it's their service game. It's their games as a service thing. It's their battle royale. And one of those studios is Toys for Bob, which, if you know anything about Toys for Bob, you know that they made the Crash Spyro remakes. I'm gonna have to run. Don't die, don't die, don't die, don't die, don't die. Oh god. So, people were excited because they made the Crash remake, the Spyro remake, although they didn't do Spyro 3. And then they made Crash 4. And so people were saying they're going to make a Spyro 4. They're going to make a new Spyro game based on the remaster, but it's going to be its own thing, just like Crash 4 was. Well, apparently, if that is happening, it's not going to be for a while, because they're being repurposed into Warzone, because Warzone makes money. So, all of this to say, these games as a service that constantly need developer help, and also these microtransactions that continue to suck dry all of the people that are playing the game, it's causing these companies to drop other things because they realize how much money they can make doing these. And it's costing us potential games that we want, that aren't microtransaction stuff. So, saying that, like, microtransactions aren't a big deal because you could just not buy them, and there'll always be games with microtransactions, but there'll also be games without microtransactions. It's not super true, because you get these scenarios where these companies are owned by these bigger companies who just want the money, and so we're going to start getting scenarios where we see less of the games that we like because the games with microtransactions and stuff are so popular. And so that's just one example of that happening. There's plenty more, but that was a good one that is relevant to me, and I actually understood it, so I wanted to throw it out there. Vicarious Visions also is being put on Warzone. Yo, Sidepick, thank you so much for the 18 months. Yeah, Vicarious Visions did some of the stuff as well, like the Crash remaster, but people are calling for Toys for Bob in particular to do Spyro 4 because they did Crash 4. But yeah, regardless, both of the company, both of them are on Warzone now. Vicarious Visions and Toys for Bob are both on Warzone because they're both owned by Activision. Yep, that's what I heard. I heard that they both are. Yeah, Beanox was part of it too. It really did seem like a good setup, but, you know, gotta get those Warzone skins. I also want to know how they have so many companies working on Warzone, and it's still, like, not great. Like, Warzone still has a lot of problems. People are still annoyed with Warzone. They tried to do some big event like Fortnite did, and it, like, failed and sucked. And now people are like, what is all this time and effort you're putting into Warzone? We're not seeing it. I'm not a Warzone player, but from what I've seen, like, it's not great. Maybe. Yeah, so they tried to do, I don't know if you guys know or care, but Fortnite did this thing where, like, the map got blown up when they were releasing a new Fortnite map. They did this thing, this live event, where the normal map got blown up, and then the new map appeared. And they did it live, like, in games, so when you were playing Fortnite, all of a sudden the map exploded, and then that's how they released the next season. It was a big deal, and whether or not you like Fortnite or not, it was a really cool thing that they did, and like a really smart developer choice, you know, like it was hype for people that are into Fortnite. So apparently, Warzone like tried to copy that, and they had like a big nuke event where in the middle of a game, the game got nuked and everyone died, and then they all got transported to the new map, and then they had to fight at the new map. And there were like zombies and stuff. And apparently it was not as interesting or well done as the Fortnite thing. Which, I can't say I'm surprised. Yo, Azuki! The full year. Welcome back, man. Enjoy the red badge. Speaking of badges, that's another thing that's coming with the 4-year anniversary. because we got new badges. I'm pretty hyped for you guys to see what it is. It's gonna be pretty good. All right, where are we at? Okay, we're really close to leveling up, so we'll go up one more time. Pretty good. Pretty good. Only 3 more years. Yep, we're just working on Omega and Shinryu. That's our goal. Yeah, I think that most people can agree that Fortnite did a good job becoming Fortnite. I think the only real negative thing I can throw at Fortnite, other than me just personally not liking it, is that they really went with the whole kid thing and ran with it. Like, they didn't need to do that. They could have kept it a game that everyone could play and kept it open to everyone, but instead they were like, oh, kids are playing this and kids have money, and just went total kid zone. Which, I don't know, I can't support changing your vision that much just because of money. Because when Fortnite first came out, it was not for kids. But they realized kids spend a lot of money and pivoted and started making everything kids related. And that kind of sucks that they completely left their original vision just to milk the kids. So that's the only real negative I can give it, is that they definitely went the milk the kids route on purpose without any care for the fact that the game is about shooting people, or the fact that the game was originally not supposed to be for kids, or the fact that there's an esports side of it that older people would like to be a part of. They were like, screw all that, kids have money, kids spend money, let's make the banana skins. So, but that's really the only negative I can give it. What they've done with that game was genius. There's a reason that it's so popular. They did a very good job with it. It made a lot of money, and for the most part, there haven't been too much negative press with Fortnite, other than there was that one thing with the iStore or whatever. But yeah, I mean, other than being a shooting game for kids, they've done a good job keeping it popular, and it's been around for a while, and it's starting to fall off now, but they certainly made their money. Can't argue with that. I mean, contrary to popular belief, game companies do make games to make money. That is one of their goals. So, they succeeded in their goal. I wish more companies made games to make good games like they did back in the day, but they do be making that money, though. OMG, thank you for the host. Yeah, but it does support what I said before, where companies are continuing to make games more about money than good games. Certain companies more than others. EA being the biggest problem. But now we're seeing it with Activision, where they one more fight, where they're pulling studios away from potential good projects because Warzone makes money. I think it's just going to continue being that way for a long time, if not forever. Oh, for sure. I'm just saying that the attention is much more than it used to be. It used to be, let's make a good game, and then the good game will make us money. Now it's literally money. That's it. Doesn't matter if it's a good game. There's no, that's not the goal. The goal is money. If it's a good game, great, but money first. And I've said it before. If you look up, there's this interview with some ex-EA employee that talked about it, and it really opens your eyes when you read it. Like, the way that they run their company is pretty nuts. It is really eye-opening how little they actually care about what's going in the video game. And, you know, I would say probably the biggest culprit is just the industry. When video games were starting, they had to be good, because people weren't sold on the idea of video games yet, you know? So you had to sell them with a good game. Mario had to be good, or else people wouldn't care about Mario, because they didn't know who Mario was. But nowadays, Mario games don't have to be good. They just have to be Mario, and people will buy them. Now, Nintendo's pretty good at making Mario games good, but you see my point. You don't need to make a good UFC game, you just need to make a UFC game. People will buy it because it's the next UFC game. But back in the day, you had to make a good UFC game because no one's ever played a UFC game and they don't know if it's good or not. And so the industry has gotten so far at this point that games don't really need to be good. They just have to be what people want. If they're good, people will be happy and maybe you'll sell some more copies. But for the most part, you just gotta make another Zelda. You just gotta make another EA Sports. You just gotta make another Destiny. You just gotta make another Call of Duty. And the other thing is that the fan bases of these games are so entranced that you don't necessarily need to sell 5 million copies of the new Call of Duty game. You need to sell 1 million copies of the Call of Duty game to the super Call of Duty fan base, and then just have microtransactions, and they'll make you the rest of your money. So it's a lot easier at this point. It's a lot easier for Activision to get off with a profit, because they don't need to sell 10 million copies of the game. They just need to get the game in the hands of the people that'll buy the microtransactions. So it's just much different. Back in the day, you needed to make the fan base. You needed to make Crash Bandicoot good so that people cared about Crash Bandicoot. But you don't need to make Call of Duty good. You need to make it appease the fan base. That's it. If you can make the fan base happy, they'll buy the microtransactions, you'll be good to go. You don't have to sell a Nintendo fan on Call of Duty. Back in like the PS2 days, the PS2 Xbox days, Xbox needed to sell PS2 fans on Halo. You know what I mean? They needed to show them that Halo was better than Call of Duty. They had to make Halo so good that people would buy Xboxes for Halo and then go over to their Call of Duty friends and be like, listen, you're missing out on Halo. Like, Halo is so good. There was a much better, like, honestly, the console wars were like the best thing to ever happen to gaming. Really, they were, because it made it so Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo had to make good games to sell their console. But now it's split enough to where if you want a Switch, you're just going to go buy a Switch. You know, Nintendo doesn't need to sell you on the Switch. They don't need to be like, hey, we got a shooter that's better than Call of Duty here on the Switch. Like, no, you're just going to buy a Switch because you're a Nintendo fan, and there's probably going to be a really good Zelda and Mario on it. And with Sony, it's like, if you're a fan of Sony games, you're just going to buy a PlayStation because it has Sony games on it. There's not as much of a, you know, Nintendo isn't trying their hardest to sell us a game that's better than this specific game on the other console. So yeah, I mean, in a weird way, I kind of miss the console wars. The console wars were a good time for gaming. The companies cared. I'm just going to use a tent, because we're going to walk back to the other save point. Okay. Are we ready, Death You Yikes? I don't know. But I guess we don't know until we try. Yeah, it's not all doom and gloom, though, for sure. For every Cyberpunk, there's a God of War. For every Destiny, there's Final Fantasy VII Remake. Who would have thought, like, a year ago that I'd be using the Final Fantasy VII Remake as, like, an example of good. Like, the example of the way games should be made. Yo, Bone! Thank you so much for the 500. I shouldn't use Destiny as an example, but I kind of still have a gripe with Destiny. I shouldn't use it as an example because I never played Destiny 2. So that's only hearsay. I don't actually know anything about Destiny 2. And I know some people like it, so. What's a better example of how about the Warcraft remastered? Is that a better example of bad?
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, I mean, I've actually heard good things about Destiny 2 in passing, whereas Warcraft Reforged was like the lowest rated game ever on Metacritic. It wasn't even on a phone. Come on, don't you guys have phones? Should have put it on phone. Deku, thank you for the 8 months. I still think that... How's it going, Brybo? Good to see you. I still think that we're kind of... I don't know. Is it bad to say that we're part of the problem with microtransactions? Is that fair to say, you think? Because here's my argument, okay? A lot of times, people say that if you don't want microtransactions, just don't buy them. Like, vote with your wallet, they say, right? Like, okay, we have to show these companies that we don't want microtransactions, so don't buy them. And then the other side says, well, they're taking advantage. Like, they're taking advantage of kids that don't know any better. They're taking advantage by making it like something that you need, and people buy the game for $60 and they still want to play it because they spent $60 on it. So you better buy the microtransactions because otherwise you're not going to enjoy it and you just wasted $60. So like, they're definitely taking advantage, right? And I usually agree with that side. But sometimes I feel like we are part of the problem. And the reason I say that is because I play games like Apex Legends where skins are like $30 for one gun skin. And it's not, we're not talking CSGO where it's like a marketplace. This is just a one-time transaction. It's just, you pay $30 for the skin and that's it. There's no trade, there's no market, there's no nothing. Your account means nothing to anyone. It's just, you bought the colored gun for $30. And I think there's no way they could get away with this unless people were buying it a lot, you know? Like, it would be cheaper if people voted with their wallets at all. Like, we gotta be part of the problem if that's working. And I mean, Apex Legends is maybe not as good of an example because it's a free-to-play game. Would probably be a better example is like those $60 games that also have skins and crap, but like, holy cow. How could this even work? Who's buying these? Yeah, like Overwatch. And yeah, and it's like, you know that skins are just incredibly easy to create. At this point, Riot Games could just have nothing but fan-made skins for the next 6 years. There have been so many fan skins developed like fully that they're just like, here Riot, have this if you want. We made this out of our own time just because we like the game. They could stop developing skins for the next 6 years and just use stuff that fans made for free and sell them for $20 a pop, and no one would even care or blink an eye. They'd be like, yeah, totally makes sense. And there is something to be said where, like, you need to make skins at least somewhat expensive so that people feel like it's worth it. Because if you buy a skin for $1, you're like, wow, that's lame. Like, what's even the point of buying it when it's only $1? There is this kind of idea that, like, it's a premium, so you want to buy a premium, you want to pay a premium price. It's the same thing with, like, premium products at stores. A lot of times, products are more expensive in the store, not because they're more expensive to make, but because they want to be the premium product so that when you buy it, you feel like you're getting a better product. That's like a big thing with grocery stores and stuff, and companies that make just regular products like tissues or napkins or paper plates or whatever. A lot of times it's perceived value. A lot of times it's there's a name on there that you know, like Gladware or something, and they're spending the same exact amount of money, if not cheaper, because they're a bigger company and they have better production costs. It probably costs them less to make their paper plates, but they make them more because they're the premium product. And when people go to the store, they don't want to buy a crappy product, they want to buy a premium product. So there's a whole thing with that too. And like with skins, I get it. You want to make like a super nice gold skin $10 and make a slightly less cool skin $5. So then people look at the gold skin and they're like, oh, I want it. But man, like sometimes I just look at the stuff that people make, people have on the market, on these skin, like Apex Legends in particular. Like I just look at the skins and I'm like, that is something I could have made myself in a free-to-use art program, and it's like $30. And I just can't believe people buy this. Like, unironically buy this. Hey, see you, C-Mark. Have a great weekend. And sometimes people buy stuff because they want to support the company. I've done that before. I've done it all the time. I do it with League a lot of times. I do it with indie games a lot. I've bought multiple copies of Celeste. You know, just to support the developer, especially indie developers. I try to do my best to, like, if they have something else I can buy, I do it. With bigger companies, I don't usually buy stuff to support them because they're a bigger company and I probably bought the game already or bought multiple of their games. But sometimes, if I play a game for a really long time, I'll buy something in it just to, like, support it because I put a lot of time into it. Like Apex. I played it when it first came out. I played it a lot with my friends. And it's a free-to-play game, so I was like, I'll buy the Battle Pass for $5, because, like, I've put 60 hours into the game, and usually I spend $60 on a 60-hour game, so I'll buy the $5 Battle Pass, like, heck, why not? Stuff like that, but there's a limit, you know? There's a limit to the amount I'm willing to spend for, like, next to nothing in reply, like a $30 skin that you can barely see because the gun is, like, here. You can see, like, the back of the skin. You're like, wow, that's a cool back of my gun. Like, I'm all set. I don't need that. Alright. So, are we going full freelancer? Just to see if we can survive for more than, like, 5 seconds? Is that the plan? I don't think we need to mine yet. I just need to survive. And then we can worry about dealing damage. So let's do drink and white for, like, everybody maybe. And then we're gonna do flame shield. Actually, I could maybe do mine. I could do mine with these two, because I don't really care what their weapons are. And I could do drink, white, and item, maybe. Just because I don't really care what they equip. All I care about is fire ring. And oh, wait a second. Do they have more HP as a mime or as a bear? It's the same. This is just a test. We're not trying to deal any damage, we're just trying to survive. Our HP is not bad. Reina's could be better, but everyone else is over 2k. Bart's is nearly 3k. Why does he have so much more... Why does he have so much more health? I wish I had a better understanding of, like... Trying to impress the ladies. My only thought is that maybe because he mastered the knight, he has, like, more vigor. Because that would make sense, because Krill also has a lot of HP, and she mastered samurai. Maybe if we can't win this, I'll go to the tower with all the AP and try to just, like, master a bunch of stuff. And see if it helps my stats more than leveling up. I feel like leveling up is way better, but it's just, it takes so long. Whereas the AP thing gives you, like, those magic pots give you 100 AP. I could master stuff real fast. So maybe we'll try that. But let's give this a go. I have to go buy more items anyways. Like, I'm running out of items, so might have to leave and grab some items. All right, let me go grab some coffee. Then we're gonna give Omega a shot. Let me save first before I forget. Yeah, the final void area gives you a bunch of AP too. No XP, but AP. Yeah, more like Omega's gonna give me a shot.